And welcome back, football fans. It is episode 2 of the Drive to the Dome, brought to you by 446 Sports and the Pelican Sports Report. And we are delighted to have one of the great ones in Louisiana in here. It is the head coach of North DeSoto, Dennis Dunn. And Coach Dunn, welcome aboard.
Doug, so glad to join you today and happy to be talking some football with you at this time of the year.
Look, I'm telling you, this is through the years, you and I have had a lot of great conversations about football, and it always seems to be something special about getting into late October and November, and watching teams all around the state make what we like to call as that drive to the dome, and you look poised for another one this season.
Yeah, our kids are playing really well right now, Doug, and 7-0 with the schedule that we played, especially early in the season. Really, if you'd have told me, at this point in the summer that you'd be 7-0, I would have absolutely given you a big old hug and said, "Man, that's some big aspiration right there because of who was on our schedule." And just really proud of our kids and the way they played, and just exciting to see what could happen going forward. And that's what the focus is right now.
Look, you talk about that early season schedule. Of course, the big one on there for most folks in the state of Louisiana is that team from a little bit east of you in West Monroe and the Rebels, and Coach Dyser and that group. Anybody that had talk of them being down this season with the new coach is completely unfounded. They're one of the good ones, one of the great ones in the state this year, and you guys had a battle with them early on.
Yeah, Doug. I mean, we did. It was a heck of a game, man. Just one of the most amazing games in my career that I've ever been a part of. It's really the tale of 3 games in one. I mean, we jump out 17-0 early
Yep.
and had control of the game, and then they responded with 4 straight touchdowns to go up 28-17 at half. And it was the first adversity that our team had really faced all season up to that point. And I told the guys at halftime of that game, I said, "Look, the way you respond to this adversity will be your identity as you move forward in this season. This could establish the identity of this football team, because every year every team establishes its own identity and how you respond to adversity." And they did. Our guys responded with incredible resilience, came back and scored 22, I guess, unanswered points to win that thing 39-28. And then for Coach Dyser after the game to say they broke our will. You don't ever
Wow.
break you don't ever break West Monroe's will. So anyway, just a tremendous victory. We didn't have long to enjoy it because we played another really strong football team in Northwood the next week. But that was a victory that, as I look back on my career, it'll be one of the greatest that I was ever a part of. And somebody asked me the next week, "Well, uh, what's wrong with West Monroe? Like they, dang, y'all beat them? They must really be down." And I want to go back to that person and say, "Man, I wonder what's wrong with West Monroe. They just came back the next week and beat Catholic High, and then, unfortunately for Thomas and those guys, won a very close game against Ash, and now they've beaten Washita and they're sitting there 6-1. So maybe this North Soda team uh, is okay at this point."
Look, I've got to believe that it was probably a character building and character finding game for the Rebels as well, because they went on to do some pretty good things. You mentioned the Catholic Baton Rouge win, you mentioned the Alexandria win, which have just been battles that showed some comeback, and then they took the ability to come back. I think they were down 7 with 2.5 minutes to go against Ash before coming back and winning that game. So that's just this kind of a season, though. I want to talk before we get into that. I want to talk about a statement you made just a minute ago about one of the best games or one of the greatest games that you've been a part of in your career. That I don't think people understand the magnitude of that statement. This is a guy sitting there with what, 9 state championships, time in college, big wins all across national rankings, and this game was one of the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, as I go back and think through the years, there've been some amazing, but it's at this point in my career and to have a team that responded the way they responded against all odds at their play. I mean, you don't realize how hard it is to win at West Monroe. That the mystique of that place with playing in the shadow of Don Chow's and the great West Monroe legacy that's there, to go into that venue that's a palace built for, you talk about Texas football and their stadiums, but that West Monroe Stadium is second to none in Louisiana. And to go in there and nobody in the world expecting you to win except the guys that were in the room with you.
Right.
And to win that game in that fashion, yeah, it'll rank right up there as I end my career at some point in the next few years. I mean, this will have to be one of those that you reflect on and say, wow, that was amazing.
Look, I just didn't want that statement to pass by without folks realizing the magnitude of it, because you, my friend, have been a part of a lot of huge wins in there through the years. No doubt about it. Let's look a little bit back at you before we get into this year's team, though. Too long history there, able to coach at your alma mater for a little bit. Made the career you made, of course, at Evangel. Spent a little time at LCU, a stop in Pineville, and all of that is great. But all along the way, you're pastoring a church there on Main Street, River Outreach in Pineville.
Yeah, when I was the head coach, I spent people don't think I spent a whole lot of time in Central Louisiana, but I was actually there for 13 years. So
Right.
11 years at Louisiana College and 2 years at Pineville, and when Melanie and I first got to Central Louisiana, we really didn't know where we were going to go to church, and just started looking around and had no idea, and joined a church and met a lot of incredible people, and unfortunately that church doesn't exist today. But in the process, we met some amazing people, and I brought a really good friend of mine down several times to Louisiana College. It was then, to minister, and I was leading a life group, and then I had some guys ask me when that church dissolved, would I start something? I was like, man, I'm coaching college football.
Right.
I can't pastor a church too. But anyway, they I guess they tricked me. Here's what I told them, just I guess to put them off. I said, guys, look, if you find a building, I'll teach on Sundays.
Right.
And I didn't think they would ever find a building, but 2 weeks later they came to me and said, look, I want you to come look at something. So they found that building that's we're still in right there
Right.
on Main Street in Pineville, and that was, Doug, that's been 16 years ago, and that thing has grown. It's just been a miracle, and I still love it, and still have great people there helping. And I go down every Wednesday evening for prayer, and Sunday to minister. So just a beautiful, beautiful body there in Central Louisiana. So love Central Louisiana. In many ways, it's my home. That's where my mom was raised and dad was raised. So a lot of roots go deep there in Sinlaw.
Look, Coach, I would put that up with all the successes that you've had on the field. Probably easily one of the biggest successes you've had, because you've reached so many people, and brought them to Jesus in there. And Coach, I just don't think that there's enough focus worldwide, especially these days, on that very thing. But it rings true with you. Even our conversations off the air, that first and foremost, that's what's important to you.
Well, coaching for me is ministry. I mean, it's a calling. It's something I believe that God ordained me to be as a ball coach, not for the X's and O's and championships and wins. You know, those have taken care of themselves. And here's what I believe: if you take care of God's business, He knows yours a whole lot better than you do. And
Right.
He's been good to me. He's taken care of me and given me plenty of on the field success, not because of any prowess that I have as an X and O guru, but I firmly believe that He's blessed what I do because I allow Him to use me in the lives of so many young men. And this year's no different. I have a quarterback in Luke Delafield that, man, he is just fallen in love with Jesus, and he's leading a prayer group, and he's preaching in the elementary schools here on campus, and just a tremendous young man. And really, I believe that our community is in revival, and much of it's due to this football team and our guys preferring one another. There's nobody excited about their own stats or their own records or their own performance. Every one of these kids, it's amazing. They prefer one another. Anybody gets any recognition, they're wanting to pass it on to somebody else, and most of all, give a platform to Jesus Christ and let Him be lifted up in their life and in their performance. And just the other night, we played Southwood High School here on our campus, and both teams were kneeling at the 50-yard line after the game with arms wrapped around each other, praying together after the game. So a lot of incredible things happening throughout the country. I think we're on the verge of a major move of God in this nation, and I'm just happy to be a small part of it and let Jesus use me as an instrument and a vessel for the kingdom in the earth.
Coach, and I think what is most that hits me at home is you're not at Evangel anymore. You're not at Louisiana Christian or Louisiana College anymore. You're at a public school, and embracing the fact that there's no fear in Luke's life to go out to these middle schools and to teach, and all these players to pray with another team. And I'm telling you, it's if folks don't realize what one small move can make, they don't understand how powerful our God is.
Yeah, 100%, Doug. It was truly a moving moment. Two public schools, and I think I'm fortunate here that our superintendent is a strong believer, and we've got a supportive administration and staff, so it makes it easy. We've got a community that's bought in, and I haven't faced any backlash or persecution, but that wouldn't at all deter me, if there was, because
Right.
I I I'm not going to be ashamed of the gospel, and it is what it is, and fortunately we're having a measure of success so that at some point in every opportunity we get to point to Jesus as the source of our success. So that's been pretty cool.
Look, and there's lots of opportunities too, because as we talked about earlier, you guys are sitting at 7-0, and you mentioned Luke Delafield. He has been such an integral part of what you guys have done this season. Tell me a little bit about your quarterback.
Luke's a 4-year starter, very, very mature player, and he's really advanced every year, Doug, in terms of his ability to uh, be a coach and manager on the field. I mean, this year I've just been really impressed with his knowledge and how he has advanced as a quarterback, and he always wants to get better. Every day he's asking me about drills we can do to help with his game. And one of the things that I've been really impressed with this year is his ability to extend plays with his legs. Uh, and it's, if the pocket collapses, his ability to escape and still make plays and make plays with his feet. And that's been an advancement that he's made in his game. He's always, even since the freshman, has been able to make all the throws. A lot of touch on the ball, but man, just his ability to read coverages and see what the defense has given us and taking the right throws and with what we do in our the run game is very important. So he knows the box really well, can count numbers in the box, and a lot of what we do is based off of if the numbers are too heavy in the box, he's got the RPO throws that he takes, and he knows when to give it in terms of what's the defense has given us, in the run game. So just a tremendous advantage to have a guy with his experience. To date, Doug, um, this kid has won 40 games, and he went into the season 33-7. So he had already played 40 games in 3 years. So now he's won seven more. So this kid's career, he's 40-7. So pretty amazing when you think about Luke Delafield and just what he has brought to our program.
Look, and you've run through a long line of quarterbacks. You had one that went, I think, what, 60-0 in his
Yeah,
career
correct.
back
Brock
there.
Berlin never
Yep,
lost a game. You're right.
never lost a game. And one of the receivers on your team back then would tell you it was because of him, but I don't. That's a different, that's a different
Well, no,
story.
Thomas Bachman was pretty special. Like he was part of that run, and I can tell you, Thomas Bachman was a competitive warrior back then, and still is, and still talk to him almost every day. And another great quarterback that's currently leading his own program, and Ben McLaughlin. Man,
Yeah.
what an amazing leader and quarterback that he was. I mean, he set every record that could be set his senior year nationally. And a lot of people don't realize this, but Ben McLaughlin was the Louisiana Player of the Year his senior year, including every college, LSU included. Ben
Yep.
McLaughlin was the state Player of the Year and won the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy for Division III his senior year. And
Look, and is just the most humble, and
yeah,
he wouldn't care if that banner was hanging up under the stadium at all. He'd rather it come down. The plaque that's in the hallway. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go visit with him here in a little while. And it's just there's two of the most humble guys that you'll find out there. But I get you go back to Delafield, and folks don't realize, I guess, how young he was. And you look at that, the Opelousas loss and the Cecilia loss that are in there. And I think seeing what Luke has done and with the way you talk about him, that's what makes him so hungry to go and make a run at trying to finish this season off in the way that everybody that's a Griffin fan wants.
yeah. Well, Doug, he told me when we scheduled, I meet with all the players postseason. So I met with Luke, did his exit interview after last season, and he looked at me and said, Coach, he said, we're going to beat West Monroe. And then he also made the prediction of what we're sitting here talking about. A lot of football still left to be
Yes.
played before then, but I looked at him after the West Monroe game. I said, well, you told me it was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. So yeah, he's got a lot of confidence, and he reminds me of a lot of a guy you talk to all the time, and Thomas Bachman. Thomas Bachman does not lack in confidence, and never
You're
has. So
right.
so that's what I love coaching those kinds of players, no doubt.
But Luke's not the only piece to that team by any means. You've got a couple of great running backs. Your offensive line is there, and that defense has really been solid this season because folks underestimate the ability of West Monroe because they throw and run the ball right now. So talk to me about some of the other aspects there of your team.
Yeah, two really special senior running backs, and Kenny Thomas and Braylon Lattin, both having outstanding years. Uh, Kenny was banged up the last 2 or 3 weeks and hadn't been able to play. He'll be back this week, but Braylon Lattin has just been phenomenal. Our offensive line is senior led. Four guys that returned in the O line from last year, and they're just playing lights out, led by Nate Dubrock up front. But you mentioned our defense. Yeah, I mean, our defense we got a freshman starting at nose guard for us
Wow.
that's 6'4", 390 pounds. And that guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with in years to come. But we're led there by senior linebacker Porter Doyle, just having a tremendous year. Landon Berry up front's a multiple year starter. Also, in the secondary, we've got guys that have played a lot of reps, so a lot of experience, a lot of games under their belt with guys who are playing right now. So, like I told you, this senior class at this point is 47 games played, and there's still a lot of football left to be played in this year. So when they finish the regular season this year, they will have played 50 games in 4 years, not counting the playoffs to come.
I don't think that folks really understand that either, and so they've got an opportunity at 54 games in their career, which is just it's phenomenal. That lets you know that you're there, and it's not a team, it's a program, and you've done all of that. Lurking at number two is Iowa, always a really good team on there too. What is it this year that says, you know what, it's just special? We've got an opportunity, but we know we're going to face some pretty big opponents along the way.
Well, again, I think it's um, Doug. It's important that we continue to focus on the little things that matter every day. The fundamentals and physicality, the attention to detail, the focus, the mental intensity of taking care of the little things, and that's what we're doing right now. The coaching staff has really gone back to uh, uh, being very intentional in our drills with fundamentals, physicality, mental intensity, not letting the grind of a long season uh, keep guys from being bored with repetition. We talk to them about that all the time. Coach Saban talks about the process, and the process is you got to take care of the details every day. And whatever the little details in the standard is, you meet it every day. And as a head coach, I'm the gatekeeper of that standard, and
Right.
it's important that I keep our guys humble and hungry and understand that, hey, on any given Friday night, if you don't do those little things, it can slip away from you. And I've already pointed to, 2 years ago, everybody had us in the dome, and Opelousas came up here and stole our dream, man. And a lot of it was because of little things, mental focus. We fumbled on the 1 yard line going in,
Right.
and fumbled inside the 10 going in. Two scoring opportunities foiled because we didn't pay attention to detail. Ball security, all those little things that matter every day. So that's what we're focusing on at this point, Doug.
Well, Coach, it seems like they are laser focused, as well as you and your staff is. We appreciate you taking time to visit with us on there, and fully know, one, that there's a lot of football remaining in this, but certainly expect to see you walking around in that middle week of December with a team that's vying for a state title. Coach Dennis Dunn, North DeSoto, thank you very much, and looking forward to a tremendous finish to this season as we follow along in the drive to the dome. So thank you very much,
Doug, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you.
Coach. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Bye bye.